Have you ever felt like the person you want to be is just out of reach? Like there's a stronger version of you waiting on the other side of fear and habit? What if the secret to reinventing yourself isn't in chasing more, but in caring less about what doesn't matter? Imagine waking up one day and realizing you've finally become the kind of person you admire. Disciplined, calm, unshakable in purpose. How to recreate yourself. Stoic wisdom for mental toughness. Marcus Aurelius Stoic Resilience. Recreate yourself. This is the promise of Stoicism, not to make you someone new for the world to clap for, but to help you shed what doesn't belong to you in the first place. In 2025, while everyone else is talking about goals and resolutions, what if you chose something different? What if you chose to recreate yourself from the inside out? Today's journey is not about tips and tricks. It's about timeless truths. Ancient wisdom forged in adversity, tested by emperors, philosophers, warriors. We're going to look at the art of not caring about what you can't control, the discipline of focusing on what you can, the courage to stand alone in your values. This isn't self-help fluff. It's philosophy for real life. Because you don't need to find yourself. You need to make yourself. And that process starts here. So let's go deep, let's be honest, and let's walk into the new year not as who we were told to be, but as who we choose to become. Welcome to Recreate Yourself, Stoic Rules for Self-Discipline and Mental Toughness. On the call to recreate yourself. We live in a world that sells us the dream of reinvention like it's a shopping trip. Buy the right clothes, read the right books, post the right photos. But the Stoics would laugh at that, because for them, transformation was not an aesthetic project. It was an ethical one. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." He saw how humans can spend decades performing for others, trapped in expectations. So the first rule of recreating yourself is simple. Stop caring about what you can't control. This is not nihilism, it's focus. It's the art of protecting your energy from the drain of gossip, comparison, anxiety about things beyond your grasp. Because if you care about everything, you care effectively about nothing. Shape story reflection. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine lost his job at 27. He was devastated, not just because of the money, but because of the humiliation. He told me, "I keep imagining what people think about me." And I asked him, "What would Marcus Aurelius say about that?" He paused. He knew the answer. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So my friend did something radical. He stopped explaining himself. He stopped posting status updates to reassure people. He got quiet. He read every morning. He walked without music in his ears. He asked daily, "What do I control today?" 3 months later, he didn't have a fancy new job, but he was someone else entirely. Calmer, clearer, unbreakable. That's what Stoic reinvention looks like. It's invisible at first, but real. Shape the art of not caring. The next rule is the art of not caring. Selectively, deliberately, not caring about whether others approve, not caring if your goals fit someone else's timeline. Epictetus taught that anxiety comes from wanting things outside our control. He said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid, because that's the price of living authentically. You want to recreate yourself? You have to be okay letting your old reputation die. That's hard, but that's freedom." Shape self-love versus selfishness. Another lesson, self-love versus selfishness. People think Stoicism is cold. It's not. It's a fierce form of self-respect. It's saying, I love myself enough to hold standards for myself. I love others enough not to lie to them or enable them. You can't recreate yourself if you're still trying to please everyone. If you want to be strong, you have to be willing to disappoint people who want you weak. Seneca said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. That's not selfish, it's necessary. Shape purpose building, and then there's purpose. Stoicism doesn't believe you find purpose like buried treasure, you make it. Marcus Aurelius woke every day in the chaos of empire, plague, war, and reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Purpose is not something someone hands you. It's something you commit to, even on the days you don't feel like it. Want to recreate yourself? Ask, what would I do today if I remembered I could die tomorrow? Because that question kills excuses. Shape ancient wisdom for 2025. In 2025, it's tempting to think we're too advanced for old philosophies. But the truth is, our problems haven't changed. We're still anxious, distracted, desperate for approval. We still wrestle with fear, grief, rage, envy. The Stoics knew these feelings well, but they also knew the difference between feeling and obeying those feelings. They taught mastery, not suppression, acceptance, not avoidance. This is the foundation of true mental toughness. Shape, so today is your invitation to not just talk about changing, but to actually start changing. Not by adding new masks, but by removing old ones. By learning what is yours to control and letting the rest go. By remembering you don't find purpose, you build it. By practicing the art of not caring about what doesn't matter. Because in the next section, we'll go deeper into these principles. We'll see how to actually practice them daily. We'll see how to hold the line when life tests you. So if you're ready to step beyond self-help slogans and step into real, unbreakable mental toughness, let's keep going. Practicing Stoic transformation, building the foundation for change. Before we can talk about the new self, we have to confront the old self. That means admitting what's not working. Where are you reactive instead of deliberate? Where are you chasing validation instead of living your truth? The Stoics believed transformation wasn't about adding, it was about subtracting, stripping away what isn't essential, cutting through the noise. Marcus Aurelius said, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Simple words, but hard to live, because our culture tells us the opposite. Fake it, perform, impress, sell yourself. But the Stoic path says, stop, look inward, ask, what is in my control? My actions, my intentions, my words. When you start here, you start to see yourself clearly, not as the world wants you to be, but as you are, imperfect, capable, ready for growth. So how do you actually practice this in real life? First, you journal. Not fancy motivational quotes, but brutal honesty. Where did I act out of fear today? What did I do just to please someone else? What am I avoiding? Journaling isn't performance. It's confession. It's confronting the hard truths. No filter, no applause, just you and the page. Next, you reflect on impermanence. Stoics didn't pretend things would last forever. They reminded themselves daily, you will lose people, you will age, you will die. This isn't morbid, it's clarifying. Because if time is short, what's worth doing? If everything fades, what matters? Suddenly, half the nonsense you chase stops being interesting. Seneca wrote about practicing poverty, voluntary discomfort, eating simply, sleeping on the floor. Why? To remember your strength doesn't come from luxury. Your worth isn't in what you own. It's in who you are when there's nothing left to hide behind. When you practice this, even a little, it changes you. You stop fearing loss because you've rehearsed it. You stop clinging because you've let go before. But Stoic change isn't just internal. It's also about how you treat others. You can't build a new self while holding on to old resentments. Marcus said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That means forgiveness, letting go of grudges. It means fairness, even when no one's watching. It means honesty, even when lying is easier. Because the new self you're building isn't just for you, it's for the world you touch. Think about this. Every interaction you have is an opportunity to practice the new you. Will you respond with anger or patience? Will you seek validation or speak with quiet confidence? Will you gossip or stay silent? These choices build habits, and your habits build you day by day, choice by choice. You're sculpting your character. The old you wasn't all bad, but it was shaped by unconscious choices, by fear, by other people's expectations, by comfort. The new you is shaped by intention, by awareness, by courage. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Real change always is, because it means giving up things that felt safe, ego, control, familiar roles. But what do you get in return? Freedom, clarity, self-respect. Imagine this: waking up and knowing you're living by your own values, not chasing trends, not performing, just being calm, centered, unshakable. That's the promise of Stoic transformation. Not that life gets easier, but that you get stronger. So ask yourself now, what is the first small change you can make? What can you let go of? What truth can you admit? What value can you embody today? Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start where you are. Start now. Because the new you isn't out there waiting to be found. It's here, waiting to be built. Criteria in the next section, we'll go deeper into the Stoic practices that sustain this transformation. Daily habits, mental frameworks, the art of choosing discomfort, all so you can keep building the unshakable self. Let's move forward, together. We've already talked about letting go of who you think you're supposed to be and learning to love who you actually are. But here's the truth you can't ignore. Recreation isn't just about acceptance, it's about transformation. The Stoics would tell you that the world is going to push you, challenge you, test you at every turn. And so if you want to survive, let alone thrive, you can't stay static. You have to choose your evolution. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Think about that. How many of your limits exist only because you never questioned them? You accepted them as fact, when in truth, they were just thoughts you rehearsed until they felt real. Repair then you into the day from every day into the world. This page is about interrogating those thoughts, about pulling them apart. It's about asking yourself hard questions and being willing to answer honestly. Let's talk about identity. Who are you really? Not your job title, not your relationships, not your followers or your brand. Who are you when no one is watching? When a regional long staff, you can presents in the safe, open, in who they took them their time. If you want to recreate yourself, you have to strip away what isn't yours, what you adopted because it was safe or expected. A Stoic doesn't wait for life to force change on them. They embrace voluntary discomfort. They choose the harder path, not because they're masochists, but because they know it leads somewhere meaningful. Psyche and Sastus, so ask yourself, what do I cling to that's easy but empty? What comforts keep me stuck? What lies do I tell myself so I don't have to do the work? Factors. You see, Stoic transformation is brutal, precisely because it is honest. Intimidation technique because it's sleep-peered. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And factors. Think about the power in that. You don't have to change the world to change your world. You don't have to make other people different. You just have to choose your thoughts, choose your responses. But that's not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Even. Timer. Let's say you want to be calmer. You can't just decide you're a calm person and move on. You have to practice patience in every frustration. When someone cuts you off in traffic, when your partner says something careless, when the project hits delay, it's in those moments you train your mind. You remind yourself, this is who I'm becoming. And that's what so many people miss about reinvention. They want the result without the repetitions, the image without the substance. A Stoic understands that change is cumulative. It's built in the small, unsexy decisions. It's built in the quiet moments no one sees. So you set your alarm early. You don't negotiate with the snooze button. You get up when it's hard. You work when you don't feel like it. You say no to distractions. You eat mindfully. You exercise your will. Over time, those choices create someone new. It's not magic. It's cause and effect. Now let's talk about purpose. So many people think they need to find their purpose, as if it's lost somewhere, waiting to be discovered. But the Stoics would say, you don't find your purpose. You build it. You choose what you will serve. You choose what you will sacrifice for. Epictetus said, first, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That's the blueprint. So, what do you want to be? Who do you want to become? And what will you give up to get there? Because there's always a cost. You can't be disciplined and indulgent at the same time. You can't be calm and reactive at the same time. You can't be free if you're always chasing approval. Real recreation means you choose your constraints. You say, these are my values, this is my code, this is where I will not compromise. And yes, that means losing some things. It means letting people down who want you to stay the same. It means stepping into uncertainty. But the Stoics would say, isn't that better than living a lie? Isn't that better than waking up one day realizing you never lived your own life? So I want you to imagine your future self, the one you're trying to create, the one who's stronger, clearer, more resilient. What choices is that person making today? What are they saying yes to? What are they refusing? What are they practicing even when no one notices? This is the Stoic path. Not glamorous, not easy, but real. And the beautiful thing is, it's available to anyone, regardless of age, status, past mistakes, because the moment you choose to question yourself is the moment you begin to free yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Don't talk about change, embody it. That's the invitation. That's the work. And it starts right now. On the next page, we're going to look even deeper at how to build this unbreakable mind, at how to cultivate the habits that sustain change, that anchor you when life tests you. So if you're ready, let's keep going. You're already proving you're serious by being here. Let's take the next step together. The deeper practices of Stoic recreation. Shape. By now, we've talked about letting go of old identities, shaping new ones, choosing what to care about, and finding purpose in the small choices we make each day. But let's not kid ourselves. Recreating yourself is no shallow weekend project. It's a lifelong conversation you have with yourself. It's waking up each morning willing to challenge the person you were yesterday. And this is where Stoicism shines. Not as an aesthetic, but as a set of daily practices to strengthen your mind, calm your emotions, and shape your character with intention. Let's dive into the deeper practices that make this work possible. Let's see how you can turn these ideas into lived reality. 1. Negative visualization, preparing for the storm. Imagine losing what you love. Imagine failing publicly. Imagine your plans unraveling. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils, not to depress you, but to strengthen you. Because if you can face the worst in your mind, you rob it of its power. Seneca wrote that he suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary. But by imagining potential hardships calmly, you reduce the surprise and panic when they come. So you sit quietly each day and ask, what am I afraid of losing? What am I pretending will never happen? And you imagine it, not to scare yourself, but to practice resilience. You realize that even if it happens, you will be okay. That acceptance is power. It's the antidote to denial, and it's a cornerstone of self-reinvention. 2. Voluntary discomfort, training for toughness. Another practice is voluntary discomfort. Sleeping on the floor once in a while, fasting, taking cold showers, saying no to luxuries. Why? Because if you can handle small discomforts by choice, you're better prepared for the ones you don't choose. You're building the muscle of adaptability. When hardship arrives, it doesn't break you. It's just another training ground. Seneca famously tried living like a beggar for days at a time. He asked himself, is this what I feared? And discovered it wasn't so bad. That realization set him free. You don't have to go to extremes, but you can challenge your comfort. This is where modern life seduces us. Always softer, easier, more convenient. But convenience breeds fragility. And the Stoic knows that real strength is built in the deliberate refusal of ease. 3. Journaling, a conversation with your soul. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations wasn't written for us. It was his private journal, a place to question himself, to remind himself of virtue, to hold himself accountable. This is what Stoic journaling is. Not a list of complaints, but an examination of your day. Where did you act with courage? Where did you fail? What will you do better tomorrow? It's not about perfection, but honesty. You sit down at night and write the truth. No one has to see it, but you see it. And that's enough to change you, because the unexamined life is not worth living. And the Stoic insists on living examined. Fourth, mindfulness of control, the serenity filter. The classic Stoic question is this within my control? If yes, act. If no, accept. This is the serenity prayer in action. Most of our stress comes from ignoring this rule. We rage at the weather, we fume at traffic, we obsess over other people's choices, all things outside our control, and we waste precious energy. The Stoic way is to filter every problem through this lens. It's radical honesty about what you can change and radical acceptance of what you can't. It doesn't mean being passive. It means focusing your power where it actually matters. This isn't easy, but it is liberating. You find yourself calmer, less reactive, more purposeful, because your energy isn't scattered on the impossible. 5. Cultivating purpose, choosing your why. Finally, there is purpose. The Stoic doesn't wait for life to hand them meaning. They choose it. They build it. Viktor Frankl wrote that those who have a why can endure almost any how. Stoicism doesn't hand you a why on a silver platter. It asks you to define it. What matters enough to suffer for? What would you wake up for, even on your hardest day? Who do you want to serve? This is the question that transforms hardship into fuel. Because when you know your why, obstacles become training, pain becomes purpose, and life becomes something you actively shape instead of just endure. These practices aren't theoretical. They're tools, weapons for the battle within, exercises for the mind, just as physical training is for the body. Each one is a step toward becoming the person you choose to be, a person who is unshaken by circumstances, who stands firm in crisis, who creates meaning instead of waiting for it. This is the Stoic promise. Not that life will be easy, but that you will be strong enough to live it fully. So you've seen the core practices that make Stoic self-recreation real. You've felt the weight of the questions and the clarity of the answers. But what does it all mean when you look at your own life? On page 5, we'll bring everything together in a final reflection. We'll see how these ancient ideas can transform not just your days, but your entire path forward. Let's step into that last journey together. Grand reflection. The Stoic path to recreating yourself. We have walked this long road together, step by step, lesson by lesson, idea by idea. We've asked, who are you right now? And who do you want to become? We've challenged you to let go of shallow change, to seek something deeper. Because real transformation isn't an overnight process. It's a way of living, a constant conversation with yourself, a relentless honesty about what matters and what doesn't. So let's pause now, take a deep breath, and gather every lesson we've covered. This is your chance to step away from noise, to sit in stillness, and hear your own heart beating. First, remember the Stoic truth about control. You can't control other people, the past, the future, or the wild turns of fortune, but you can control your mind, your choices, your character. That's where your freedom lives. That's where you carve out the unshakable self. So every day, ask yourself, is this in my control? When you find the answer, act on it. Release what you can't shape. Don't waste your energy fighting the tide. Learn to ride it. Second, you learn the art of not caring. This is not about being cold or cruel. It's about being free. Free from the need to please everyone. Free from living for likes. Free from chasing approval that will never fill you. Imagine how much mental space you'd recover if you stopped worrying about gossip, trends, opinions you don't respect. As Epictetus said, care only for what truly matters. Let the rest fall away like rain off your skin. Third, you face the difference between self-love and selfishness. Self-love is patient, honest. It sets boundaries without cruelty. It knows you can't pour from an empty cup. It asks, how can I sustain myself so I can show up fully for others? Selfishness is hungry, desperate, blind to other people's needs. So ask yourself, am I nurturing myself so I can give? Or am I hoarding so I don't have to share? It's a subtle difference, but it changes everything. Fourth, you learn the power of purpose, not as something you find like a treasure map, but something you create every day. You don't wait for life to hand you meaning. You build it. You write it. You sculpt it from choices. Seneca said, life is long if you know how to use it. You use it by living intentionally, not drifting, not blaming fate, but stepping up, taking responsibility, deciding what you stand for. Fifth, you explored the traditions that guide us. Stoicism, Buddhism, existentialism, Epicureanism, all of them in their own way, teaching that happiness isn't external. It's built from within, that suffering isn't the enemy, it's the teacher, that impermanence is not tragedy, but liberation. You learn to hold these ideas like tools, to pick them up when you need them, to see your own thoughts clearly. Because philosophy isn't about being clever, it's about being free.